And to answer your question, there will be separate apps with Swipeclock and Thinkware. And that's the case for a lot of different timekeeping systems that bolt on to payroll. There is a single sign-on method through an online portal. So if they're using, like a tablet and they access the internet, or if they're using a computer. But as far as their mobile phone goes, does Thinkware offer a mobile app, Lynn? I'm not familiar if they do.
Yes, we talked about that, Nate. This is Craig Sherman. So Thinkware has one developed that they are rolling out January 1st, according to our COO. And I think, Rachel, much of what you want to accomplish can be done in the HRIS, certainly the requesting of the PTO, and we can make sure that it's configured accordingly. Want to know more about what you mean by see their hours, because of course that is in our system. Once we process the payroll, we'll be able to show that.
Here, I can give you an example on, so something that's really popular amongst the employees, and forgive me, I'm kind of mirroring it off like what we have now, Craig, because I'm not really familiar with the system on the east side. But I know a lot of staff really, really like this. So what they do, it's an all-in-one app, and they log onto their employee service, and they're able to view their time card and make sure that all their punches are correct. So if they say, oh goodness, like I forgot to punch out when I completely walked out the door and forgot, they can click their missing out punch and request a time. That way, from their time card that they see that relates with the HRIS system, they can manage their own hours and make sure everything looks correct to avoid any potential payroll issues. I'm trying to put my time clock up right now. Mine looks different because I'm just salary, but they can see all of their time for that pay period. And from here, can you guys see that? I'm sorry, that's terrible. So it just shows them, like if they had punches, it would go there. And then there's this punch add. And from here, they can request a new punch in case they forgot it. And then in case they forgot to punch in or out. And then the manager can approve or deny from there. They can also like review their time cards from the app and just say, oh, like I see PTO is pending. My manager hasn't approved it yet. I may not be explaining it.
Oh, I think you are very much. And clearly those are time and attendance functions. So I will defer to Nate.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Our system is going to offer all of that. No problem. Those are standard features. The only thing that I want to be certainly clear on is it's not going to be through a single app with Thinkware. So Thinkware will have their app. And I can check on this because it sounds like that app is going to be a new release. But if we were to look at the system today, Swipeclock, the timekeeping system, would have its own mobile app as well.
What are all these? I'm so sorry. I'm just trying to learn. What are all these different things you're saying? Thinkware, Swipe. I mean, how many? What is it all? Is it all integrated into one?
So Thinkware is the payroll software that Tryon uses.
I thought it was DarwinNet.
Same thing.
Oh, it's the same thing. Okay.
Same thing. Yeah, it's just the name of that specific platform is DarwinNet. So that's all payroll. Swipeclock is going to be the timekeeping system that we bolt on to payroll. That is going to collect all of the employee hours. We can handle the scheduling needs. As far as PTO and sick leave tracking, that's a conversation that we would need to have simply because it can be done in payroll. It can also be done in timekeeping. And there are pros and cons to both, right?
Sure.
Ultimately, when it's tracked in timekeeping, it's reliant on hours tracking. So if you have an accrual policy, so we need to be able to track the hours so that we can accrue the time worked and manage that and streamline that and automate it ultimately. The one nice thing with Swipeclock is our PTO tracking is 100% custom. It's one of the best things that our system can do because sky is the limit. So you can have multiple policies for multiple buckets of time. So sick, bereavement, vacation, personal. If you need to track COVID PTO right now, a lot of companies are doing that. So you're not limited as far as how we need to track PTO. And that's also something that employees have available to them through their service portal. So when we get this all set up with Darwinet, there will be a single sign-on, and that's to make things easy for the employees. So when they want to go and access HR-related information, they would log into their Darwinet portal. If they needed to link over and look at their timesheets, if they needed to correct a mistake, submit a note to a manager, approve a time card, check a PTO balance, submit a time off request, they would click a link embedded in that Darwinet portal, and it would shoot them over to their Swipeclock portal. Okay. So just as far as the mobile app goes, and I will check with my development team, because there is a good chance that they may have a link designed in their mobile app that would link them outside to like a web browser, right? That could be a possibility, right? But as of today, if I were to share my screen with you, Swipeclock does offer its own mobile app. And the mobile app serves really as two purposes, right? The first is, of course, to record time. So for employees that may be remote, or you want to give them the ability to use their cell phone, you just turn on that feature for those individual employees. So it's not turn it on yes and it's for everyone. You can actually decide which employees have that feature. You can turn that feature off.
Does it use so they don't they're not able to punch out, or they're not able to punch in the parking lot as they're taking their break, right?
So we don't restrict punches. What we do is we flag those punches based off of different parameters. The reason that we don't stop employees from clocking in or out is it will create more work for management, right? It also opens the door for misinformation. If I go to clock in at 9, but I'm not able to, I can tell you I got here at 8:30, So there are reasons behind it. We don't have preventions from clocking in or out, but we do offer geotagging. So each time the employee punches the clock, we partner with Google. So we're going to record their location on a map. And then you can also apply a geo fence. So you could set up individual boundaries and assign employees to those boundaries. And if they move outside those areas and clock in or out, a real-time notification will go out to their manager that the employee has moved outside the designated area. So you've got both options. Okay, so you have the ability to turn the mobile clocking in and out option on or off, but everyone can use it because they've got a time card, just like on your mobile app now. It records their hours. It allows them to send notes. If they do use the clock to clock in and out, let me go back there. You've got this miss your last punch option. So same idea, they can request, put in a time, and it will go to their manager. Their manager has to approve that if they missed a punch. So it's got the same feature there. They can send notes through the time card if they forgot to clock in or out, so that's a very helpful tool. They can approve their time cards, just let management know that they've reviewed it before it's submitted over for payroll. Once we introduce scheduling, if you want to publish and send those schedules out to the mobile app, they'll also receive push notifications or text messages. So I've published a schedule, the employee will be notified a few different ways. If after it's published, a manager goes in there and changes or updates an employee schedule, they'll also be notified to that change or update. And then you've got different functionality with the schedule. It can be visibility only, or if you want to give the employees the ability to drop shifts or pick up open shifts that become available, or swap shifts between colleagues, that's a feature that you can turn on. but again, it all takes managerial approval before it takes effect. And then they've got their time off area in the mobile phone as well. And that's all custom. So if you've got multiple buckets that house different amounts of time, they'll be able to see each bucket. And then when they select their time off, decide where they want to pull those hours from. They've got a calendar so they can see what days off they have. If you want to open it up company-wide or to a certain department or location, they'll be able to see what colleagues have what days off. So everyone doesn't request, Christmas Eve or New Year's Day off. So there's a lot of functionality through the mobile phone, and it's also done and available online as well. So this is computers or tablets. And it's the same experience across the board, right? With the web-based clock, we can restrict it by IP addresses. So if at one location you've got 10 computers, you could access this clock from all 10. Or you could say, I just want everyone to use the front office computer, so I'm just going to restrict that computer so everyone has to use it as a central kiosk. Okay. Then they've got their time card here. So just like we looked at on the mobile phone, they'll be able to track hours. Everything is added up and totaled out for them, so no arithmetic, right? We can easily see missing punches, so I could send a note to my manager, hey, I forgot to clock out, here's what time I left, other information. And then this view of the time card that you're seeing now will represent the pay period. So whether it's weekly, monthly, biweekly, semi-monthly, that's what they'll see as far as an entire time card view. So that way down at the bottom, as we approach the end of the pay period, they'll be able to see their total hours worked for that pay period. Yeah, but we break apart the work weeks. So if they wanted to look at an individual week, they would be able to see that information as well. Same idea with the scheduling. So they'll be able to come into their portal online, view their schedules. And then again, if you want to give them interaction rights, if there are any open shifts that are pushed out to me, I'll be able to pick those up. Or if I want to get a more detailed view, I can actually click into the scheduling portal. Now, this is just a rubber room. It doesn't have any admin rights. It's strictly for employees only, but they could come in here and pick up shifts or drop shifts, request to swap a shift with a colleague. They can come in here and set preferences, which is really cool. So I could tell my manager, here are days that I'm available. Here are days that I can't work. I've got a scheduling conflict. Here are days and hours that I dislike. So that when management is creating schedules, if you work with, single parents or college students, you'll get a little alert that will pop up to say, hey, Bill has a scheduling conflict here. Do you want to override it and put him on the schedule anyways, or do you want to try and schedule him a different day and time? Okay. And then they can, of course, choose their notification settings. So how do employees want to be notified if they forgot to clock in and it's 15 minutes past their shift? Or do they want to be notified when a new schedule is published? If so, do you want to receive a text or an email, a push notification to your cell phone? So they get to control how they want to be notified and when they want to be notified. So the employee experience is extremely simple. There's a lot of tools and resources, whether it's through the mobile phone or through a web browser. So any questions so far? No? Okay. So if I go back to the clocks themselves, they are intelligent. So they can do a lot more than just recording an in and an out. If we want to track lunches and breaks, and we want to ensure that employees are sticking to those allotted times and breaks, and if they're paid or unpaid, we can put rules in place to ensure that they take a full 30-minute lunch, and if they try and come back early, the clock will restrict them. If we want to prevent employees from clocking in too early from their shift, we can tell the clock, hey, don't let any employee clock into an 8 a.m. shift before 7:50, 7:55. So we can help, the time theft or the padding of time cards that clients sometimes see. If we need to collect or do any type of job costing or time allocation, anything like that, we can design what we call clock prompts. And these are just examples. So you can label the headers whatever you would like, and you can have as many of those prompts as you would like the employee to give data. When employees clock in or out, they'll be prompted to give you that information that you're requested. And you can make them optional. So if I don't enter in information, I can still finish my punch. Or you can make it mandatory, where if I don't tell you a location and a job, I can't complete my punch. So I have to provide you that information. Okay, so whatever it may be. So we can have preset selections with drop-down menus available, or we can leave it open so they can type in whatever they would like. We call it a form fill. So that's just to track different data if you need to do any type of job costing, time allocating, or just if you've got employees that may transfer from site to site to site and you want to know where they're at and how much time they're spending at each location, that's a quick and easy way to do that. So do you guys have any questions? Is that something that you would need our system to track for you? Any type of job costing or project allocating time or anything like that?
Rachel, do you know if that gets tracked now for through there?
What, can you say that again, Sarah?
No, he's saying, do we need it to track like job allocation and stuff like that? Is that what gets tracked through Paycom right now for finance?
Yeah, we have to allocate to different departments, especially with how many buildings we have, and some of them are so close to each other. I could have my health information coordinator at one building go help out at the other building, or a charge nurse work as a CNA, and we have to allocate those hours. Or a CNA as a dietary. So yes, we would need that.
And so are they just performing transfers and letting you know when they arrive at each new facility, or does it go deeper than that and it's facility and maybe a department or task that they're doing?
It depends on the situation. If it's a facility transfer, really the schedulers and the director of nursing, they work together with the other building and just keep HR in the loop. So we make sure we're allocating those hours correctly. If it's internal facilities, really I just work with the department manager. So at one of my facilities in Grand Rapids, she's a CNA and she works and picks up as a dietary aide quite a bit. So I just get from the dietary manager what shifts and what hours of the shift that she worked as a dietary aide and allocate her time to that.
Okay. So we could easily record and probably streamline that for you, simply because when we set up the employees, if they've got a home department or a home location, we can assign that to them. Then if they were to ever perform a transfer or make a different selection at the clock when they're punching in or out, those can act as triggers. And that can just simply trigger the system to record the transfer and track the time so that you can run a report and easily see, okay, for this time frame, this employee, here's the different departments she worked in and the total hours worked. If job costing comes into play and pay rates get changed around a bit, they can act as a trigger and tell the system to start tracking them at a different pay rate. So we could do both, if that would help.
I necessarily don't, for at least what we do on like the buildings that I'm comfortable with. If like this person I was thinking of, I'm not going to pay her less. So like we don't do different pay rates because she's doing the favor. Like, so I don't think we would change that, but that might be a decision that would be changed. That's a little bit over my head.
Okay. We don't need to. Some clients, they need that ability.
Yeah.
And really when we work with payroll, Payroll will house all of the wage and the pay rate information. So our system can just track the time. And then when we align the two, we call it mapping or pay code translation. The system knows based off of the codes that are being entered in by the employee how to pay them correctly and at what rate. So it's not difficult at all for us to set that up. So for each location, you've got multiple options for the employees to use, right? So you did mention biometric clocks. That's something that we offer. They're extremely user-friendly. In fact, it's the same exact user experience as the mobile app and the web clock. So you've got the TimeWorks Touch. So it's the intelligent clock. It offers all the same features, right? The in, the out, the lunch, the break tracking, and the clock prompts. And same with transfers. So as this CNA or the RN moves from one facility to another, she walks right up to the clock. She can hit transfer, enter in her new selection, her new department, and now the system knows, one, that she's made the transfer, but also if we need to track other information or just time, right? How much time you worked from site 1 and then you transferred over to site 2. Now we're going to start tracking it from site 2. So extremely user-friendly. They're touchscreen. They are redundant models, so they have a battery backup. So should you lose power, the clock will still operate for a few hours, still record the data, and it syncs the punch data in real time. So there's no downloading, there's no retrieving the information. The moment an employee walks up and clocks in, because our system is cloud-based in real time, it automatically syncs that to the manager's portal. It's also got 2 options to connect to the internet, so it does rely on an internet connection. It's either an Ethernet or power over Ethernet, so a hard connect, or you could do a wireless connection. Okay. Now, should this clock lose internet connectivity, but still has power, it will still record and store all of the data. Once connectivity to the internet is restored, it will automatically sync that information over to the data and input it under the right employees at the right date and time. So no problem if the clock loses internet connection. Okay. If you needed something a little bit more, coming out in January, we will have facial recognition models that will work the same way. They'll just stand in front of the clock. It'll recognize their face. The menu will pop up. Or we have temperature control clocks coming out that will do a facial recognition as well as take your temperature. So those are on the way. So if you need much more capability, a little bit more security because you're in healthcare, let us know. Any questions on the clocks, guys, or different options? Anything at all? No? Okay.
Nothing for me.
Yeah, well, feel free to interrupt at any time. Like I said, there is so much that I could talk about in here, and we really designed these systems tailored to your specific needs, right? So we have over 50,000 clients that use this. 1 million people use it every day, but no 2 accounts are the same. So we will actually build this account and tailor it to your specific needs, right? So we handle all that, right? It's a white glove service. So we make it very simple to get you set up.
How do you transfer data? So like if we were to move from, let's say, Kronos time and attendance data over to you, what does that look like?
You wouldn't be able to bring over the information from Kronos and upload it into our system. You could manually or retroactively go back and manually key it in. But for the most part, when you start a new system, we will bring over all of the employees and certain information about those employees, names, start dates, classifications, departments. But as far as previous timekeeping data, unfortunately, yeah, there's no way for us to really put it into a specific format to upload it into our system.
No, but I mean for like department shifts, all of that stuff, that all has to be rebuilt.
Correct. Yeah. And that's something
And what does that look like? What does that process look like?
Well, let me interject for a quick second, Nate. Typically, what we do is to make it smoother, once all the data is in our payroll software, then I pull reports of all the specific key pieces of information that they need for timekeeping, pull that into a spreadsheet, and I send that over to Swipeclock for them to import.
Okay, I'm just thinking back to like having to fill out multiple sheets of paper on how many shifts we have, what times are the shifts, you know, all of these different policies and things. I'm just trying to think from a paper and workload standpoint, I'm trying to get a sense of how much manual work that is on our team's end.
Right. Well, once you give us the go-ahead that you want to go with Swipeclock and we get all the information set up in our payroll software, Swipeclock also has a kickoff call with you or someone on your team that can provide all the details about your account so they can build it to your specific needs. So we will need, you know, a breakdown of all that information so we can accurately set it up. Did that answer your question, Sarah?
Kind of. So it sounds like there's a lot of heavy lifting on our side, basically.
Just initially. I mean, just like, you know, setting up everything in the payroll system, you know, we need all of the data so that we can get it set up correctly.
So with the timekeeping and scheduling set up, the only heavy lifting, like you mentioned, is just giving us the information. If you already have that information because it's been designed in another system, you could easily submit that to me and I can give it to my implementation team. But typically how our rollout works is, you know, once we get all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, I will get some information from Lynn about your employees, and that's where we start. Employee information so that we can upload them into your timekeeping account. From there, my implementation team will work with your team and they will get down into the nitty-gritty about how we need to build your account. And that's everything from the time zone that you're in, your work week, your pay schedule, your overtime rules, your holiday rules and pay, your PTO, your sick leave, you know, your accrual policies, as well as your shifts, your scheduling, and how we all need to build that for you. So a lot of it is just telling us how we need to build the system for you. We then take all that information and we build your account for you so that when we offer the training, your account is built, we train you within your own environment, and you feel comfortable when we train you, and you can actually see it firsthand. And then once your account is built, we put you into our customer excellence program. So whatever date and time you choose to start, we follow you for the next 6 to 8 weeks closely, and you have one point of contact to address questions. If we need to fine-tune anything on your account, we are right there helping you. So there's no guesswork on your end. And that's one of the best things about Swipeclock is our agility. This system is very robust, that you will definitely grow into it the longer that you work in the system. So there's always new features available and features that you can turn on or off as the primary administrators in the account. So I hope that helps address some of those questions. Yeah.
And I just want to remind everyone that we have a dedicated resource that will be on site in Bingham Farms, and she knows the information that we need and should be able to do a lot of this heavy lifting if we can just get that structure of how it's set up out of the other system.
Perfect.
Okay. Do you guys have any other questions before I kind of just keep moving along? No? Okay. So everything will be done in the manager's portal. And that's what you're seeing on your screen right now. And depending on how many administrators you would like to be working in the system or different supervisors, there are different levels of access and what supervisors can do within the system. So there are two different dashboards that you can choose from. One looks like this to give you real-time information of employees that are clocked in, if you've got missing punches, if employees are sending you notes. You've got a quick and easy method to track daily and weekly overtime, a couple different graphs down here, right? So this is a very informative portal here. Another view is to go directly into the system itself and have this be your main dashboard. So it's up to you and how you decide you want different supervisors and managers to see the system. On the left is your navigation menu. And this system is extremely easy to navigate. It's just, where do you want to go? What do you want to see? So you've got the main menu, you've got your time card section, you've got a maintenance, a reports, and a settings menu. Through the center are just quick links. If I needed to see which employees are clocked in, I can quickly jump there. If I want to see which employees may have mobile access, I can jump there. So just different jumping points, right? So what we do is on the left here under the main menu, each employee will get set up and have a profile in the system. And this is where we can define a lot of different key data points for each employee, right? A home department, a home shift, a home pay rate, who they report to, and of course, login information and pedigree information, names, emails, start dates. But you can also decide how you want employees to engage with the system. So this employee needs to use a web-based clock. This employee has mobile access, and I want to track their location settings or location management. So you can turn on the geo-tagging and the geo-fencing. So all that can be done at the employee level. And you can create groups of employees if you want to. And a group could be a location, a department, or just random employees that you want to fall into a single group. And you can assign that group to different supervisors to help you manage time cards. You can assign them to see different clock prompts when they're punching in. So if one group needs to answer location and department, another group needs to give you mileage and bonus, we want to separate those. So we can actually create different data points of entry for different groups of employees, right? Just to make things easy to track. Okay. From there, it's where do you want to go? What do you want to see? Most of your time will be spent in the time cards and of course the reporting. So with time cards, we can look at daily views and again, get real-time information of which employees have arrived, who has not. When we introduce scheduling, we can actually see their schedule right on their time card. So we know when this employee is supposed to be at work each day. We can also create alerts to tell us if they deviate from that schedule. Were they late? Were they early? Are they absent? And then there are different notifications that can go out as well to management and employees with certain scheduling notifications. If we do track any information from those clock prompts, they have a dedicated column on every time card to track and record that information. So as they're moving from different job sites, performing different tasks or duties, we can actually see that right on their time card. When they're transferring, to what site, and how much time they're spending at each different site. So we can quickly run a report and find out where we need to allocate our time for the billing department. Managers and supervisors can quickly edit or add information on every employee time card that they have access to. So if an employee makes a mistake, they clock in at the wrong time, or down here at the bottom, you see this red bar. If they miss a punch, mistakes are very easy to identify and correct. And again, I can change every line item across the board. So I can change the pay category if I need to. If I need to change, a transfer, did they mean to take a break and not transfer? I can change that information. If they made a wrong selection when they were, selecting a department or a job. Or we can have just managerial facing information. So maybe there's charge accounts or reimbursements or bonuses. We can have columns to track that information as well, but it's only visible to management. So the employees won't be able to see or engage or input any data in those fields. And just like the employee side, the time cards will track and record and, of course, handle all the arithmetic. It's going to track overtime automatically for you, and then we just tell the system what to do with that overtime. How do we pay it out? Or some clients, they don't pay out. They will roll it over into a comp time bucket. So rather than pay the employees for the hours worked, they give it back to them to take time off. So lots of different things we can do there. And then we separate out the work week so we can see how many hours are worked each week. We can tell these banners to say different information if they're approaching overtime, if they've hit overtime. And then down at the bottom, everything is quickly available for management to see. How many hours were worked, if they hit any overtime, how much PTO they have available and in what buckets, if they've got any planned or upcoming paid time off. So a lot of information is displayed on the time cards for management to see. So any questions there? No? It's very, very simple, very user-friendly. It actually takes me longer to talk about this system than it does to use. So if I jump into the scheduling side real quick, scheduling is very unique and every company has different needs. Is yours more of a static schedule where a group of employees may work the same shift day over day, week over week? If so, we can create a template, apply that template to an employee, and just have it repeat on the scheduler until we change it or tell it otherwise. Is it a little bit, let me log out of this, sorry. I'm still logged into the employee side. There we go. Manager dashboard. There we go. So if you've got a bit more dynamic scheduling in place, and we need to create multiple shifts, and employees may work a different shift each and every day, and that varies each day, not a problem whatsoever. What we're able to do is the timekeeping system is going to work in conjunction with the scheduling program. So it's going to recognize the departments that those employees can work in, where they're qualified, where they're able, and when they're available. So we will do the same thing in the scheduling program as we do with timekeeping. And we can come in here and input all sorts of different rules for each employee. So we can set minimum hours work or minimum hours per day. We can set min or maximum shift lengths to help protect the employer from opening and closing issues or working too many hours per week. If you guys work with minors, we can put minor rules in place. Or we can simply just put this employee in a work group and they can fall into multiple different work groups. And each work group may have a different shift or shifts throughout the day that they qualify for. So all we're going to do is, did someone have a question?
A question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do for Rachel, actually. Is this a scheduling tool that we would use that would replace the current scheduling tool On our west side buildings, yeah. Did you shake your head yes?
Sorry, I'm talking on mute. I said, yeah. The current scheduling tool is built into Paycom.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, thanks for letting me ask. You can go ahead, Nate.
Okay, sure. So essentially, we just tell the system who the employees are, where they're qualified to work. We can track certifications if we need to, put alerts in place to when those certifications are coming due, or training for ongoing education, get alerts right on our home screen here. So if someone's RN or CNA is coming due, the system will flag that and alert us so we know not to put them on the schedule past a certain date and time because their certification may be expired. And then the scheduling system itself is extremely simple. So depending on management and views and who has access, you're going to get all your employees listed on the left. They can be classified and separated out like I have here. And then there's a couple different ways to create shifts. So I can click on the day and I can manually create a shift, put in notes, put in departments, and assign that shift to a day. Once I've done that, I can copy that shift and paste it to any other block and any other individual on the calendar itself. Another way is to create open shifts and templates. And a template, you can have 100 or 1,000 of the templates. They just represent your shift block times worked. And as they're open and need to be filled, they'll populate under the open shift, and I can quickly drag and drop them to the appropriate individual. And then finally, you've got the ability to do an auto assign. So the system will recognize patterns based off of previous schedules that you've published. It will recognize those patterns, and it will self-schedule out to the best of its ability and populate the appropriate shifts to the appropriate individuals on the calendar. And then once that's done, the supervisor or manager can go back over it and make any custom adjustments made. So multiple different ways to create schedules. They're all very simple. And then once you publish them up in the right-hand corner, they will be sent out through text and email and, of course, push notification alerts to all the employees that you just created the schedule on. So very simple to create schedules. And once the system knows employees when they're supposed to be at work, then we can do all sorts of different things. So we've got reports to compare the two. So we could look at schedules versus time cards, and we just pick a date. And of course, we give you some graphical views to track hours and whatnot, but you can also see, okay, here's when my employee actually worked. Well, here's the schedule that I wanted them to work. So you've got comparisons that way. You've also got deviation reports. So you can see who deviated from their schedule. Let's just go last Thursday. Who was late, who was early, who was absent. So each time an employee deviated from that set schedule that we've told the system, we can run a report. And all these reports are printable or exportable into a CSV or PDF format, so you can quickly get it out of the system if you need to. Okay. If you just need timekeeping reports, if I go to my navigation menu on the left over here, we give you 19 standard reports to choose from. And I've got a note here that says that you guys do need PBJ reporting, correct? Perfect. That is turned on at a flip of a switch. We've already got those pre-built. So let me go here. Nope. Let me go here. There. See if I can find it for you. Let's go PBJ. Yep, right there. So we just basically turn on our PBJ reporting, and it's available. There's no additional charge for that unless we need to fine tune it or custom tweak it for you specifically. But we just enable the PBJ report. It'll fall in your list over here. And within a matter of minutes, you'll be able to enter in a date range, filter out different information, and run that report. So are there any specific reports besides PBJ that you guys run weekly or bi-weekly for your payroll?
Sandra or Katie, anything?
I run overtime reports every week.
Overtime.
Everybody's overtime.
Absolutely. So we've got a little bit of feedback there. So we've got 19 reports to choose from. So you could easily run a summary report for overtime. And I just pick a date range, or I can plug in a custom date range and hit submit. And it will quickly show me all the employees and their regular time and their overtime that they've worked. There is also a automated email that we can send out. It's the daily auto email report. And this is just a simple automated email. And all we do is we just plug in any supervisor or administrator that wants to be included on this email. You specify what time of day you want that email to be sent out, and it shows the previous day's activities. It will also keep a running total of overtime for the day, for the week, and for the month. And let me grab an example of that real quick.
Can you run it by department?
Yes, so you can change the view of that report based on supervisors. So we would create groups, and that supervisor would be able to see just that group or department. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Come on, where is one here? I get them sent to me every day for my demo account here. So there's one right there. So it will essentially show you what time employees are clocking in, what time they're clocking out. If they've deviated from their schedule, it'll give you that alert, how many hours they've worked. If they're engaging in the clock prompts, it'll show you, their transfers. It'll show you their lunches and their breaks. And then down at the bottom is the overtime summary. So that's going to keep a running total for the week, for the day, and then the month to date, and then the pay period. So that way, every day, you'll get an automated email sent to you with the overtime information that you're looking for. So very, very simple. And I know that we're getting short on time here, guys. Is there anything else that I can really show you about Swipeclock, the timekeeping system?
Robust.
It's
Is there
really user-friendly.
Is there a way to kind of see, and this might be more like Craig's assistant, to see how, like, I can click into this from the employee and how it pops up? I kind of just want to see that for my own picture. Is that, I don't even know if I made sense.
Absolutely. Are you referring to like the timekeeping side or more of the HR side?
I'm just kind of, I want to see how it flows from the HR side to the timekeeping side from the employee's view.
I think we might be able to set that up. Lynn or Craig, do you guys have a sample account for the Darwinette system?
What I'm trying to set up, Nate, so that, and I appreciate that, so that we don't piecemeal it, is to do the demo on the HRIS, because Rachel, I don't think you've had a full demo on that yet, have you? You're on mute.
I cannot get it together today. Software. I've used the DarwinNet software before with the previous company. So I don't know, and I know you guys can differ a little bit, but I do know my way around, not a little bit. I know you guys can customize it. And so I do know how to access stuff and get things. Just the previous system I've had before didn't have the PEO that was with the DarwinNet system in the past, had their own, or it was called Orbis Time and then Orbis Net. And they didn't link together. So I guess that would be a learning experience for me.
Okay. All right, so Lynn, I mean, I think we should set that up with Denise to give a full comprehensive demo of how ours is built out.
Sure, we should be able to do that. I don't have a test client set up for that currently, so we'll have to put one together.
So just to give you a quick idea, here is another system that it's kind of the same format that we're looking at here. So they log into their HR portal, and then there's some type of company link. And what we will do is we will embed the link to the timekeeping portal. Okay. Now that link can be different. If it's for a manager, we can link them over so that they land on this dashboard here. And then they can do managerial tasks straight from their HR portal. If it's a employee, just a standard employee, that link will kick them over into their portal here. And they can clock in, clock out, they can review their timesheet, make any notes, or send, like approve their time card, if you will. They'd be able to check their schedule. And then, of course, depending on what you let them do, pick up shifts, drop shifts, swap shifts, or just view only. And then if we ultimately decide, which I would recommend, to have the timekeeping system track your PTO, that would be handled in this portal here. But ultimately, it can be done in either portal, and that's completely up to you.
So could it be done in both portals? Because I mean, I guess what if I'm just on my HRIS employee self-service and I'm not on the time and attendance? Because right now it's and again, I'm sorry I keep on comparing it to what I have now, this. I know we're making a change but I think the way people, and this is my opinion, I think the way my employees see it on our Western region is really helpful because it's all in one. So I don't want them to have to go to the time clock and then back to the HRIS system to see back and forth what their PTO is. Is there a way for them to see it, for your systems to run concurrent together and track it after each payroll? This is why I'm not also I don't want to be in development, because I don't know if my ideas are even making sense.
No, they all make perfect sense, and you're explaining them very well. The answer is yes. Do we want to? A big no. Simply
Why?
because at some point, the balances will show different totals. And that's just the nature of the software and how they update.
I guess I'm not understanding.
So essentially, the way that our system tracks PTO, it will track it the same way in HR, but how it updates may be a little different. So for instance, our system will update these totals every day or every week, right? Depending on what your policy says. When employees take time off, these totals will not reduce in time until the employee actually takes that time off, correct? Other systems won't track it that way. So they will say, you've got 80 hours today, you requested 8 hours today, I'm going to deduct 8 hours today, not when it's actually taken. So it's the way that the software is written and how it updates. So we could definitely set it up in both systems, see how it works, but just be very open to one employee may log in one portal, it may show different than the other. I have seen that before.
Thanks for explaining that. I don't think that would be the solution. I'm just trying to get a grasp of what it looks like for the employee, just to make sure it's first class for them and they have the easiest access possible. Right now, I don't want to make sure, I understand it's a click, but I want to make sure it's not something they have to re-enter their password and username in, because that's a huge trend. Our employees can barely even remember their one password and username.
Login information is consuming my life. I have a special app on my phone and it's like got 40 in there. And without that thing, I would be ruined because I don't know any of my login information. So there is a single sign-on. That's the good news, right? So if they're in the HR portal, they click a link and it'll kick them over into the appropriate area so they won't have different usernames and passwords. Okay, so Lynn, let's try and get a sample employee for Rachel.
Okay, perfect.
So she can kind of get a better understanding of how the employee system works. Do you guys have any other questions on the actual timekeeping system? Or I know it's a lot to think about. You've got something in place now and transitioning can be scary, but we try and make it very simple and our system is very robust. So it will be able to accommodate and handle what you guys need it to do. No problem. So I'll send out, I did record this session, so I will convert that over. I'll put that in a follow-up email. I know questions will arise, so when they do, please reach out to me or Lynn and let me know. And on average, our setup time is between about 5 and 15 business days, so not long at all.
Great, thank you.
Okay, guys. Well, I really appreciate your time this morning, and I hope to be in touch with you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, have a nice day.
Thank you.
Okay, see you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.